Hello, welcome to episode 46 of Very Fun Adventures. My name is Tonya, if you are new here, and I am coming to you from southeast Minnesota, where my family and I run a fruit farm called Firefly Berries, and where I dye yarn naturally with the plants that we grow on our farm. So welcome. If you are new, welcome to the channel, and if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It's been about 3 weeks since I recorded a traditional podcast, I think. So I have actually quite a lot of making to share with you. I have done a lot in the last 3 weeks, from knitting to crochet, from socks to mittens to blankets. I kind of have done a little bit of everything. However, before we get started on the finished objects like I typically do, I do want to take this moment right at the beginning of the podcast to give you a quick update on the Very Fun Yarns Advent Countdown Kits. I know a lot of dyers have been putting out pre-orders already the last couple weeks, and I have had some questions about whether or not I am doing one. So I have an update for you, I have details, and I want to share that with you right away at the beginning of the podcast. If you are not interested, no worries, just look at the down bar below and it will tell you where to go to, where the finished objects begin. So that being said, those of you who are interested in my Very Fun Yarns Advent Countdown Kits, I am going to be having some this year. They will not be the traditional 24 mini skeins, individually wrapped kind of deal. They're going to be a little bit different, but I'm excited about it because I think I have figured out a way to make them not only fun for me, but also sustainable in a way that I can have time to do other things besides the kits. So there are going to be two options. The theme this year is a Northern Christmas, and my color inspiration has come from a lot of pictures of, I would say, the Aurora Borealis. So northern lights, sort of like greens and blues, maybe some pinks, but I'll put in a couple of my inspiration photos here for you to see as I'm talking. But that's sort of what I'm going for. I really want to try something a little bit different with my dyeing in the kits this year. I'd like to do a little more layering, a little different. So there'll still be traditional colors that, beautiful colors. But so this is my inspiration, Northern Christmas. And instead of being a daily kit, a daily goodie that you open, it will be a weekly countdown. So every week, heck, if you want to open it for 4 days before Christmas, you can do that too. But every week, so every Saturday or Sunday, or however you want to do it, whatever day of the week you pick to open it, there will be a little package. And in that package, you can either choose the full skein option, where you get a full skein of fingering weight yarn, the 80% merino, 20% nylon sock base that I carry, the Berry Tough sock. So it'll be a full skein. Or you can choose the mini skein version, which will be 5 mini skeins, so a mini skein set that are coordinating. Now, I do believe my plan is that I am going to do the large skein and the mini skeins will be different. So they will be coordinating because they're all using the same color inspiration for all 4 weeks of the Northern Christmas that I have showed you already, the pictures. So they should all coordinate together. They should all be inspired similarly. And so if you really want to, you could purchase both the large skein kit and the mini skein kit, and they would still be different colors, is what I'm trying to say. But so there will be a large 100-gram skein or 5 20-gram mini skeins that you'll open each week. So that will be times 4 weeks. And then along with that, each week you will also get a 8-ounce jar of jam or jelly that I make here on our farm. So if you've been following us for a little while, or maybe if you're new, you might not realize we are a fruit farm. That's how we started before I started to dye yarn. And we grow strawberries, Concord grapes, raspberries, blackberries, honeyberries, and other assorted small fruits. I think this year I'm also doing ground cherries. So elderberries, forgot about that one. So your jam or jelly flavor will be a surprise, but it will be from something that we grow here on our farm. So you will get a half pint, which is 8 ounces of jam or jelly to go with each week. And then also a little surprise goodie that goes with it. So it'll be, I really wanted to focus more on the yarn and less on the goodies, but I still know that it is fun to get a little something extra with your Advent Countdown kits. That's the fun of it. So there will be yarn, either a full skein or 5 mini skeins. There will be a jar of jam and a surprise goodie. But so those will go in the shop. Pre-orders will go live this coming Friday, April 26th at 6 p.m. Central Time. So if you're not here in Minnesota, we are in Central Time. We are in Daylight Saving Time right now, but check your time zone or whatever to see what that is for your time zone. But I will have it open for 4 weeks. So it'll be open almost through the end of May or until I reach capacity. But I have never reached capacity, so I do not anticipate that happening. So if you are wanting one, set your timer, and then sometime in the first couple days, weeks, just make sure that you get that ordered. So that pre-order will go out on the 26th, 6 p.m. will go live. Before then, I will have it, I think I'm going to put it in later this week already, and it will just say that there aren't any in stock. But that is the system. Oh, and if you are curious about pricing, like I said, I wanted to focus on the yarn because I do recognize that these kits are very expensive, are very costly. They're well worth it. I will say that because having dyed them, I know how much work goes into the everyday mini skeins. But for me, I wanted to do something a little different, yet very fun yarns. And so the cost for the full skein set will be $140, and for the mini skein set, it will be $165 US dollars. So yeah, that is the plan. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. But those, like I said, will go live later this week. And I am looking forward to starting to dye those in May and June already. I will talk more about what's coming up for Very Fun Yarns at the end of the episode today. But I just wanted to get that quick in right away that Advent Countdown kits are coming. The theme is a Northern Christmas, and there are 2 options. So that is that. Now I have some notes so I don't forget what I'm doing here. So if you see me look down, that is what I'm doing. Okay, so let's move on to finished objects. And there are so many finished objects this week. Let me count how many. I have actually 6 finished objects. So my secret to my finished objects over the last few weeks is that I have been rather monogamous. I have been really in the mood to work on one thing until it is done, and then I move on to the next thing. So that being said, let me show you my finished snowplow cowl. Now this was a pattern that is by myself. It's the personal design, and I showed it to you almost finished, I think, last time I came to you. But here is the completed pink snowplow cowl, and this is a double wrap infinity cowl. So you can see, I'm trying really careful not to bump my microphone here, but you wrap it around twice and you have kind of a nice, cozy, fuzzy infinity cowl. Now, I will say it is made out of, you hold 2 strands of fingering weight double, 1 strand of Surrey alpaca, and 1 strand of, I used an 80-20, my Very Tough Sock fingering base. And you cast on with a provisional cast on, you knit in the round, switching your yarn so you have a main color here. And then you have 2 contrast, or you can certainly use, there are 9 of these little contrast sections in the cowl, so you can certainly use mini skeins. I have, you use about 7 grams of the contrast color per section. You hold the suri through the entire thing. So you could certainly switch that up and just do a bunch of different mini skeins. I do plan to hopefully do that. Try things out a little different. Or you could use, you don't have to use a fluffy yarn at all. You could just use 2 strands of fingering weight yarn. He'll double. So yeah, so that turned out great. I love it. I've actually worn it quite a bit. It was really warm here in Minnesota for a little while, and then we had a cold snap, and it got cold and a little snowy, and so I have been wearing this a fair bit. Let me throw that back here. Okay, numbers 2, 3, and 4. So since I came to you last, I have been feverishly working on my fingerless mittens pattern. Last time when I came to you, I told you they were the no-name mittens pattern. They now have a name. They are called the Spring Rainstorm fingerless mittens. And I have finished 3 pairs since I came to you last. So this was the one I was almost finished with, I think, last time I came to you. And this was the very first one I cast on. I started my first, in the design process, I had a twisted rib for the ribbing on the top and the bottom, and I didn't have the pearl bump in the thumb gusset or the thumb. So that was my first one. I decided to change up the ribbing a little bit. So my first and second of this pair are not exactly the same, but they're still close enough that they can be called a pair. So then that is a medium size. So after that, I wrote up the pattern. Actually, I think I did this one. I did the first one of this. So this is my second pair. I might have had one of these done when I came to you last. This one is actually made out of yak sock. And yak sock is a base that I carry. It is fingering weight. I can't remember the exact makeup of it, but it is merino wool. I think it's 60% merino, 20% yak, 20% nylon. But it's a beautiful base. It's slightly thinner than the Very Tough Sock base, which is 400 yards per 100 grams. This one is 437, but it's still knit up loverly. So I switched it a little bit. We now have the pearl bumps on the thumb, and I went with the non-twisted rib for the cuff and the top. So after I made up this one, I wrote up the pattern. So the pattern is available, not quite yet, but when it comes out, will be available in 3 sizes, a small, medium, and large. The medium size, of which this is, fits a 7-inch circumference around your knuckles. And I would say that is like an average adult woman or teenage girl kind of hand, or maybe a young boy. My son, who's 12, would wear medium. And then there is a small size, which is 6 inches around, and that is this pair. So I've knit 3 pairs. So the first one, this purple and gold one, which if you're in Minnesota, you would recognize it as a Vikings colorway, but in all honesty, I'm not a Minnesota Vikings fan. I grew up 30 miles from Green Bay, so I am by default a Packers fan, even though I don't watch football very much anymore. But my son, these are one of my son's, his school colors. So we have that one. That is the medium size. And then I did some grading, some sizing, and came up with these. This is the small size. Now these, I would say, are going to fit a very small woman's hand or a child. I would say a tween kind of age. I would say like 7, 8 to 12, kind of before they go through a growth spurt or something. I can get them on my hands because I will say this pattern is very forgiving, right? It's a pretty stretchy, not a super tight when it comes to negative ease, And they do fit a little bit nicer if they have a slight negative ease. So if you measure your hand and you're like a 7.5, which I think is what I am, going down to like the 7, which is the medium, will give you a better fit than going up. But these are slightly tight for me, but I would say a small woman's hand or a child will fit these perfectly. So yeah, so I have 3 of those written, and then I have some more in my works in progress. I have knit a ton of these, and I will say it's actually has been a pretty fun pattern. I know I'm probably not the most objective of people because I wrote the pattern, and I generally wouldn't write a pattern that I think is super boring, right? But I have enjoyed them a lot, and the small size probably only took me 2.5 hours to knit one mitt. Tops, and the medium and large about 3 hours to knit a mitt. So right now it is in testing. I have 5 wonderful test knitters who are working on it right now, and I hope to have that back from them, the notes and everything, by the end of April. And then in the first week of May, these will come out as a pattern, and I will also be selling kits. So if you're looking to make these, I will say that the small version you can make with 2 mini skeins, so 2 20-gram mini skeins. I was able to get that out. Now, I do give you a gauge recommendation on the pattern, and it is sort of important, but it's not for fit. But like I said, they're forgiving. So if you are slightly off, you may run out with the small if you just have 20 grams of each. It's very close. So in the pattern, I do recommend a little bit more. The medium and large size, the medium takes, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I'm thinking it takes about 30 to 35 grams of each color. And then the large version takes, I think, 35 to 40 grams of each color. So definitely a kind of a stash buster if you have some yarn left after making socks or whatever. And this is, forgot to tell you, it is fingering weight held double, or you can use it as DK weight. And you could certainly, it's written for 2 colors, but you could certainly make it a single color as well. Yeah, so you can kind of see it has a purl kind of section with some slip stitches in there. Okay, so those are the spring Rainstorm mittens, fingerless mittens times 3. And then I have finished, kind of close today, sorry about that. Move myself back a smidgen. I feel like you're really close to my, it's a fine line between too close and too far away. So I'm trying to find the happy medium here. But I finished, believe it or not, my Targhee socks. Last time I came to you, I had talked a bit about, oh no, it was on the, I did a blog, not a blog, a video log, a vlog of like a spring, what was happening around. And I talked a little bit about the projects I was working on. And I don't know, oh yeah, I do have them here. And I think in that episode, I mentioned these socks, which are also knit out of Targhee sock from Woolens and Nosh, the self-striping. My son wore through them super quickly, and I had to put in these patches on his feet. And I was trying to figure out if it was just how my son wore them or if it was the actual yarn. I don't know exactly what it is, but I went ahead and I continued on with these, which was a pair I had originally cast on for my husband. He is also kind of hard on socks, so after Lincoln went through that last pair so quickly, I was really nervous about making these for Dean because I was afraid, he was gonna, whip through them really fast. But this I did cast on with a contrast color. It is an old base that I had in my stash when I first started dyeing that I dyed with turmeric and indigo. And I thought I was going to do the heel as well, but then I decided no, it was this base is a pretty thin fingering weight. I would say it's like 440 to 460. It was a much thinner base. And so versus the Targhee sock, which is like 398 yards to 100 grams, something like that. And I didn't like the difference in the weight for the heel. So I just went with all of the Targhee, and hopefully it'll wear well for him. But this I did a little differently. If you notice, if you've been around a while, I did a rib, a knit 2 purl 2 rib all the way down. I even did it on the heel flap, which is kind of fun. I kind of like that. And then I did it down the top of the foot as well. Now Dean, he's one of those wool sock lovers that really likes tight fitting socks. I am not that person. I like them to be snug, but not like overly snug. So I thought by doing the rib on his heel, that would, and then the rib the whole entire way, that would make it a little more snug for him. So he did try these on and they seemed to fit pretty good. I am keeping them for him until the fall when I will give them to him, because it's getting warm now and he kind of tends to be on the hot side anyway with his temperature, and so I know he won't wear them before fall. So yeah, one pair of socks off the needles. I would say I have been in a serious sock knitting place. I have some more socks in my works in progress, but I don't know why. I'm in the mood to knit socks all the time without anything else, which I think is okay, because I do have several family members who could use a few new pair of socks before next winter arrives. So that is, let's see, what are we on? That is finished object number 5. And number 6 is this big one behind me. I cannot believe it, but I am actually finished with my granny square blanket. You are not going to be able to see it completely, but I'm going to hold it up and show you what I can, and then I'll put a picture in here. So right now it is folded in half. Let me see if I stand up. All right, I turned the camera slightly so you could see it a little bit better, but here is my blanket. So you can see it's quite wide. It is about the width of a twin size bed. And it's quite long the other way as well. So hold on, I'm going to turn you back around. Okay, so as I was saying, it is quite large. I think it turned out a little bit bigger than I had thought it would, but I am so happy that it did. And it ended up, it's the full size of a twin size bed, basically, is what it is. I didn't measure the exact dimensions, but when I laid it out on the bed, I could see it covered the whole bed pretty much. But what I ended up doing is I crocheted them together. That's the wrong side. As I went, there is a link to a tutorial that I used in my project page. And it was actually very easy and straightforward. And so I used Knit Picks Hawthorne. I forget what the colorway was. It's in my project page. This nice gray color. And then I did 2 granny stripe rounds, you can see, on the outside edge to kind of make it pop. So yeah, that turned out wonderful. I think it was like 4,000 yards or something crazy like that, which brings me to, before I move on to the next bit, I wanted to share, I did a little like middle of the year statistics after I finished this blanket to see my totals, what I have made so far this year. And I have completed, as of April 16th, 17 projects, 4 socks, 2 sweaters, 2 ornaments, 2 slippers, as in pairs of slippers, 3 hats, 1 cowl, 2 pairs of mittens, and 1 blanket for 9,904 yards. Now, obviously, that's different since then, because I have completed another pair of socks and some mittens, I think, since I did this. But yeah, so I'm doing really pretty good. Sometimes I think it's nice to, so that's sort of about 1 quarter plus a little bit, couple weeks, right? I think it's nice sometimes to sort of look at where you've come, especially if you're a person Now I'm thinking about the Finish More in 2024 knit along, which we're doing. If you carry a lot of knitting or crochet projects with you, and sometimes it feels like you're not accomplishing anything and you just have all these projects, and it is really nice sometimes to just step back and take a look at what you've completed. It sort of gives you inspiration and gets you excited to keep going when you feel like, oh, I never get anything done, right? Yeah, so I did a little tally to see where I was at. So that was really exciting. About, like I said, about almost half of that yardage came from the blanket, but still super excited to have it off because this was one of my projects that I carried into the new year. So I'm very excited to have that off the hook. Okay, let's move on to works in progress. I kind of have them back here on my desk. The first one I want to show you is the same pattern, the Spring Rainstorm Fingerless mitts, but 2 different colors and sizes that I'm working on. One thing I found was really, as I've been working on these, it's really been fun, is figuring out the color combinations. Like some of them, like this one is, very contrasty, right? This is very light, this is very bright. But then I've also found, the tones, like, okay, wait, this one was right solid, and it has a different tone to it, but it worked. This one, I really like this one. It has this one is made with the yak as the purple eggplant color, and then the Berry Tough sock. So I even mixed up bases, and when you hold the yarn double, it is very forgiving with the different bases. So I love this one. And this one I think is going to be for me. This is a medium size. The only reason I haven't finished this one is because I ran out of purple. I misjudged. I had some scraps, and I cast this one on before I accurately estimated the yardage, and I estimated wrong. I think what I was thinking is that I used the purple, so this is the same purple, but it looks different slightly. I used the purple in this as the main color, so I thought, oh, I can use it as the contrast color and I'll have plenty to still get both out of a 50-gram mini skein, and I did not. I ran out. So I have a slight amount left, but not enough to do a whole nother mitten. So what I'm going to do is this purple eggplant color, I will be dyeing it and bringing it back to the shop. I do not have any in the shop right now, and that is because it is an over dye that I do outside with indigo, and it is been too cold to do it outside. So as it warms up here in May, we will start doing indigo dyeing outside again, and I will dye up some more, some of which will be for me to finish this mitten and then to make some kits for you all. But this is this colorway. It's kind of hard to see, but the grayish colorway is a new colorway that will be coming to the shop. I'm really excited about it. I love it. I think I'm going to be calling it Sweater Weather. And it is a very kind of grayish cream color, and it has very subtle pops of purple in there, of like a very light lavendery purple. So that is one color combination. So I'm done both of these projects. I have one mitt done. And then the second one, this is the large size. So you'll see on my hand, it does fit me, but it's looser, right? You can see there's a little more looseness in the hand there. So I'd say this is more of a size for like a man's hand probably, or somebody who has just very wide hands. But this now is more monochromatic, but it still looks lovely. So depending on how, maybe you want something that is more contrasty like this one, or you want something that is a little more subtle like this one. So many options. I will say if you do choose to use a variegated yarn, that the variegated tends to work better with a solid. So variegated as a contrast and a solid for the main color. But, world's your oyster. You can do what you want. Here, this is a variegated. It's a very subtle variegated, and I did it opposite, and it still looks great. So Just kind of depends what your yarn looks like. Oh, here, this is how much I have left of the purple. So I think it's maybe 7 grams or something. Not quite enough for a whole nother mitt. Okay, so those are the spring rainstorm mitts I've been working on. Let me show you my socks I cast on. I told you I was in a sock place. And then I will show you the one last project, which is another blanket I have been working on. So these I'm calling the cheesehead socks, and that is because this is a yarn from Lolo Did It called Cheeseheads, and I think it's based sort of a tribute to the Green Bay Packers. And my son, my 12-year-old son, picked this out. And if you've been around, you've probably heard me say that he has very large feet for being only 12. And so I need to do a 72 stitches count for his circumference. But luckily, he only likes about 4 inches plus the cuff. So I think it turns into be like 5.5 inches. So it's not as long as my husband, who likes like 7.5 inch leg. So I just I'm on the heel flap right now. And for the heel flap, I am using the contrast color I was talking about that I used in my husband's Targhee socks. And this is I thought it was Nova. No, it's not BFL. It's just a 75-25 base that I dyed on very early on when I first started to dye yarn. And then decided that I preferred the 80-20, which is a little bit thicker. So yeah, so I'm working on that. And I think I'm going to try and finish that heel today after I'm done with this, because I am dancing in a dance production later this week. I think I've talked about this in like vlogs before, certainly on my Vlogmas episodes. But I take my children have all danced since they were quite little, and my 16-year-old son dances a lot. In fact, he wants to major in it in college along with accounting. Those are 2 interesting majors. But he is in a class where they learn to choreograph numbers, and so that class is putting on a production at the end of the week. And one of the numbers, they recruited some of us adult tap dancers, and my son actually choreographed the number that I am dancing in. So I have later this afternoon. Today is Sunday, by the way, April 20th, I think. It's April 21st. Anyway, we have a rehearsal and then like a full run through. It's like Tech Week starts. So I'm going to be taking these along so that I have something to knit on. But I'd really like to be past the heel before I head out later today. All right, so that's it for my smaller projects. You can see I have been working on a lot of smaller projects since I have come to you last. I have also been working a fair bit on the bounce blanket. Here is a picture of that if you haven't seen it before. It is a DK weight blanket by Tin Can Knits. And I am making mine in my 2023 Yarn Inc. Advent Countdown Kit. And I can't remember which number I'm on, but I have done a fair bit. Starting to turn kind of bluish green. You can't really see it, just barely. So I don't know where I was. I was down at least a row. I should grab a stitch marker to put in, a progress keeper. But it's getting fairly long. It started with the light pink, went into the purples, and now we're into the dark bluish gray colors. But yeah, I do enjoy this one. I enjoyed knitting this a lot. I think I'm on number 16 right now. Yeah, I just started number 16. So I have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I have 9 colors left. So that's actually not too bad. I would love to get that finished here in the next month or so. That would be fabulous. But yeah, I'm enjoying that a lot. when I seem to get tired, sometimes, if you knit a lot, I knit my socks on a size 0 or 2 millimeter DPNs. And so sometimes if you knit too much on those tiny needles, your hands just need a break. And this pattern, I believe, is on a US 6, which is, how many millimeters is that? Let's see what it says. It is a 4 millimeter, it says. Yeah. So I need the little break, right? A different size for the hands to give them a little break from the knitting. Oh, but that is it. That is it for my projects. Like I said, I was very heavy on the finished objects because I've been so monogamous since I have come to you last. But the only other news that I want to share with you before I say goodbye for the day is that you will have noticed probably that I have been fairly quiet on the dyeing front lately. That has been because I have been very focused on these patterns that I want to get out, the Fingerless Mitts pattern, and then also some projects and things I need to get done in the house and around the farm before we get to our busy season. But the exciting bit is I'm very excited because my son Ian is going to be coming back from college. His college ends quite early. He's done this Wednesday, so the 24th, I think, is what it is. I'm headed out to go pick him up, and then he has like one final he has to do online yet. But Ian is my son that is going to be working full-time with me in the Very Fun Yarns area. I mean, he's working on our farm as well, helping with weeding and picking and all that, but he's really geared up to earn some money. And so instead of working outside the farm, he used to work at a grocery store as well. He decided he just wanted to do more hours with us. So he will be my right-hand man as we get all those Advent kits dyed up, and we get into lots more dyeing for Zombie Knit Apocalypse, which is a local event that will be coming up. Also, the Rochester Farmers Market starts at the beginning of May, and I'll be set up there every Saturday morning from 7:30 a.m. till 12 noon out at the Olmsted County Fairgrounds. So if you are in the local-ish area, you'll be able to find my yarn lots of places in person in the coming months. So we will be dyeing up a storm, and I will probably still be doing most of the dyeing myself, and at least initially, unless Ian gets excited and wants to help me with it. And Ian will be doing more of the behind the scenes. He'll be doing labeling and prepping and skeining and website things, that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited to have him home and to have some more support with my business. So I will be coming to you hopefully in a couple weeks, maybe with some new colors to share. But for sure, we'll be having those Advent pre-order kits open through the month of May. Again, that goes live on Friday, April 26th at 6 p.m. Central Time. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming here today and for being with me, sharing your time with me. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. Happy making, everybody. Goodbye.